ingredients are, because I'm probably going to have my mom do it in the back while we finish up here, and then tomorrow of course you will get to taste it. But the only things in this recipe is 3 cups of barley malt sweetened carob chips. It's just carob chips that says barley malt sweetened. Now, when you get your carob chips, make sure it does not say hydrogenated oils on it. We want to stay away from those. Those are worse than saturated fat. Partially hydrogenated, anything hydrogenated, you stay away from those. What I do is when I go to choose my carob chips, I make sure I read the label. Sometimes the ones that I buy say right on the front if it has hydrogenated oils in it. It'll say non-hydrogenated or has hydrogenated oils in it. Stay away from the ones that has hydrogenated oils in it. And the sweetener in it is barley. It's barley malt sweetened. So they're taking from the barley, the grain itself, the sweetener from that. So it's barley malt sweetened carob chips, 2/3 cups of peanut or almond butter. Peanut or almond butter. And then the only other ingredient in there is about 2 cups of quick oats. And the quick oats have to be toasted. They call it dextrinized in here, but we go ahead and we bake them in the oven. Bake them, toast them off in the oven, and that makes it a lot easier for you. But 3 ingredients, that's it. Now if you have a Vitamix, like we do, what we do is we make our peanut butter. Peanut butter is so easy to make if you have a Vitamix. We buy the dry roasted peanuts that's not salted. You pour the whole container in the Vitamix top, and you use what they call a temper. It comes with the Vitamix. And you keep pushing it down. You put it on high, and you keep tempering it down or pushing it down until it comes creamy. It's one of the best things I've ever done with my Vitamix since I've gotten it is making my own peanut butter. You can add about a ½ teaspoon of salt, that's all you need, or no salt at all. I tried it without salt the first time, I think it needed a little something, but no more than a ½ teaspoon, from a 1/4 to a ½ teaspoon, and you have your peanut butter. We actually have peanut butter that we bought at the store, so that's what we're using today. So for this recipe, all it calls for is the no-bake carob cookies, the peanut butter, and oats. What you do is, I'm going to have to explain it here, and then we'll have to do it in the back, and we'll bring it out for you to see. You will put the peanut butter and the carob chips in a pot. You heat it up, and you stir it until the carob chips melt. The carob chips are going to melt.
I tried that.
It's very easy.
It came very, it clumped together and left me with oil.
You know what? That happened to me. She's saying that she tried it before and it lumped together and left her with oil. When I tried it the first time, what I had bought was a hydrogenated chips.
I got the chips from them when they were here the last time.
And it turned to oil?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was a peanut butter that was hydrogenated.
Something was hydrogenated. It was just the carob. I asked Sarah because I got it from Sarah when she was here the last time.
Okay. Well, double check on your labels always, even if you get it from one of our places. Make sure there's no hydrogenated oil in it. But we're going to do it here. We'll bring it out. We'll form them and bring them out for you guys to see.
I had the skillet and everything.
You know, I'd like to testify that those don't have any oil in them. I mean, I went on a walk today and they melted all over my hand. And
yeah, carob.
There was no oil.
Someone was saying there's no oil in carob. Carob, I was looking through one of our books that we sell, and carob chips actually has only about 2% fat in it. And I was surprised to hear that. It's much lower in fat than regular chocolate. And it does have minerals and different things in it that's good for you. It's not to overdo it, but it's not unhealthy for you, and it doesn't have a lot of oil in it. But make sure it says non-hydrogenated on there. So you just have those 3 recipes. You put them in the pan and you melt between the peanut butter and the carob chips. The chips are going to melt, and then you're going to add your oats to it, and you mix it until the oats are thoroughly mixed in, and then you form them into cookies. And that's pretty much it. That's your recipes. That's your recipe for your cookies. It's no-bake carob cookies. If you want it, if you do this at a cooking school, what we do is we make the cookies and we stick them in the refrigerator to get them hard real quickly. They'll get hard in about 10-15 minutes, and then you can serve them to the people that you're doing the cooking school for. So that's why I love this recipe.
No, I love that recipe too.
Now, I know we had a couple questions. One was from Maureen.
Yes. How do you make, again, following the teaching that all grains should be cooked for at least 2 hours, how do you cook rice?
Maureen's question was, following the are teaching that we should cook grains for 2 hours, how do I cook rice? What I do with my rice, and it's so easy, it saves so much time for me, because I really never learned how to cook rice when I was younger. I bake my rice. And I can tell you guys what the recipe is for that. When I say bake it, I mean when you pull it out of the stove, you can eat it. It's going to be cooked. You take 3 cups of brown rice, 3 cups of brown rice to 7 cups of water. 7 cups of water. You put it in a casserole dish, preferably a glass one, because I like to see it cooking. If you flip your oven light on, you'll see it cooking. You'll see the water boiling in there. So 3 cups of brown rice is 7 cups of water, 1 teaspoon of salt. You cover it with foil. I use a dish that's deep enough that the foil doesn't touch the water.
Yeah.
You stick it in the oven at 300 degrees for 2 hours. Your oven might be a little faster, turn it down a little bit. Might be a little slower, you turn it up a little bit. But you know your oven, you know how to work with it. If before the 2 hours come up, an hour and a half, you check it to make sure it's not dry. Okay, but it's done when the rice will be fluffy.
300 degrees?
300 degrees.
Do you stir it at all?
I don't stir it at all. The water dries up and it comes out perfectly. And what I do, it'll make a good sized casserole dish of the rice. I use that in my other recipes, like the carrot yam loaf that we made. I make meatballs with it. I make meatloafs with it. So I would store my rice in the freezer in a baggie, and I'll put the date that I cooked the rice, and I'll pop it in the freezer. And then even if you don't want to use it in recipes, you take it out, thaw it out, and you have something for lunch one day. And another tip that I always like to tell people, don't just do one recipe of all of this stuff. Do 5 or 6. If you have some time on a Sunday, make as many burgers as you can. Pop them in the freezer, and you won't have to worry about burgers for a month. Make 3 or 4 loaves. Slice them, bake them, slice it, and then freeze it. That way come Sabbath, you pull it on out. You already got your rice baked, you pull that out, or you do your mac and cheese. And it's so easy. You have to find ways to make this easy for you. It doesn't take a lot. Once you start living this way, it becomes very easy and very convenient for you. For me, this is done. People would say, oh, how can you do that? But this is the way we live, and we found ways to make sure we get it done, because this is important to us. Your health is important.
Can you make beans and rice the same way? Could you put the, how would you
I always
make
wondered about
beans
that.
and rice?
Beans and rice, yes. Yeah, you can put you can add the beans. You probably have to put a little bit more water, because the beans will actually soak up some of that water, and you can do it that way. You can also cook rice on the stove for 2 hours, but you have to turn the oven down really, really low. Really, really low, and cook it that way. I prefer to bake it in the oven because I don't think about it.
What about the rice cooker? Have you?
It's not. It
compared?
doesn't cook long enough.
Oh.
So yeah, I'd rather bake it in the oven, and then it comes out so good when you bake it. It's not gooey. It's it's just right when you bake it in the oven.
Actually, I have a question with the beans and rice, primarily because, especially in this area, we have a strong West Indian
Yes.
community.
Yes.
And so what I want to know is the way traditionally how we make it from a Jamaican background is the rice, the beans, the coconut milk, thyme and all that stuff. Now, can you replicate that? How would you replicate that?
Mom, I'm gonna let her answer this. She's the West Indian one.
Born in the Virgin Islands, you know that.
Dr. Murphy.
The beans and rice, I cook it the same way because I love rice. I love all pigeon peas, chickpeas, you name it, I eat all of them. So I do it the same way, but what I do, I soak them overnight. I soak all my beans so they get swell, and when they get to that stage, I just put in maybe an extra cup of water, and I pop it everything in all my ingredients one time and let it go.
Including the coconut milk?
You can put the coconut milk into it. But what I put when I'm doing the beans, I put a little onion sometime in it.
I'm not very big on coconut milk, and I know in Jamaica you add coconut to almost everything. So I haven't really done a lot of rice with coconut milk, but I would suggest trying it without it first and see how you like it that way. If you have to add the coconut milk, you can, but I would prefer not to add it in right away to the rice and beans. We want to taste the flavor of food. We've gone so far from what God intended for food to taste like, because we keep adding all this stuff to it. Let's go back to nature and see how the food really tastes. So that's just a thought for you guys. One thing with the beans and rice, though, what I would do, Maureen, I would cook my rice separately. I know you guys like to mix them together. Put your beans in a crock pot. 1 cup of beans to 3 cups of rice. I'm sorry, 3 cups of water. Yes. You can add salt. I add salt, onion powder, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and cumin. That'll taste so good. And then of course you can add your rice or your beans if you want to in a big bowl and mix it up, or just put it over the rice on your plate and the person can mix it up themselves.
Okay. Marjoram, what does that taste good in?
Marjoram.
Marjoram.
My mom cooks a lot with marjoram. She even uses it as a tea, so I'll let her tell you.
Yeah, I had it when
She want me to tell you West Indian style because she never eat rice cooked with beans, with peas. When I was a child, I had to cook a separate. I said, girl, I'm a West Indian. I like my peas with my rice, but she never liked it that way. Marjoram is very tasty, and it's a mild. It's not irritating to your stomach or anything. So you can use it in your food. It's a very flavorful. I use it this week here in most of the beans that I have cooked.
Okay, so like the burger too? The burger can go in the burger?
Yeah, no. You can, I never use it with a burger, but you see like that tomato stew that I made?
Oh.
Marjoram. It is tasty, yes.
Wasn't that tomato stew nice? And it was her own recipe. She made that recipe up herself. M-O-R-J-A-R-O-M. Marjoram. It's a herb. Marjoram. Okay, we got ourselves a spatula. Now what I was telling them, Mom, is that I'm probably going to have to take this back to the kitchen for us to do there. And I'm finishing up answering any questions that they have. And then I want to bring it out at the end to show them what it looks like.
I was going to ask you if you can put it mix.
Mix it?
No, it won't.
No, it wouldn't work.
It has to be on the stove.
That's why the skillet will work best for this recipe. The skillet will work best for this recipe.
It has to be on the stove.
Do you want this
So,
Do you have it right now?
you have a stove?
Want to open?
It'll probably take a minute to get here, and I think some people are almost ready to leave. It's inside. There's one in the kitchen.
Bring it out,
Bring it on.
brother.
Let's have the skillet.
Is it a
Okay,
microwave
we're
or a
gonna get a
skillet?
skillet.
Is there an
Hold
outlet
on
though?
for that. We'll just plug it into the extension cord. Yes. We have a question over here.
So there's two questions actually. One with the crock pot and how long can you leave it for? And
Okay.
the other was with the mayo. Do you put it in the fridge and for how long?
Oh yeah, the mayo can go in the refrigerator for about a week to 10 days. But make one recipe. If you're by yourself, if you're a single person, make one recipe and try to use it within that week to 10 days. With the crock pot and the oats, you can put your oats in overnight before you go to bed, and in the morning it should be ready for you. With the beans, you can actually, if you have a crock pot that you can set it at any time. If you need beans in 4 hours, you just set it at 4 hours and it'll be ready in 4 hours. The least amount of time on the crock pot, the quicker the crock pot will work, the faster it will work.
Yeah.
The faster it will work. So, if I'm doing beans overnight, I'll do it for like 8 hours if I'm going to sleep through the night and get up in the morning and turn it off. But for your oats, put it on overnight. Any more questions? I have a question right here.
Yes, what substitute you can have for peanut butter?
Okay, the substitute for peanut butter would be almond butter. You're thinking other than a nut?
Yes.
Okay, yes. The only other substitute for this would be the almond butter. There are sunflower seed butters, there's tahini, but tahini has a stronger taste to it, so I wouldn't actually use it with this. And a lot of people that might be allergic to peanuts would not be allergic to tahini, but it has a stronger taste than this. And I wouldn't, if you're not used to that, I wouldn't use it in this recipe because this is supposed to be a sweet recipe.
And you know what is tahini?
Tahini is sesame seed butter.
Yes.
Yeah. Her question was, is there a substitute for the peanut butter? You can use almond butter. There's also cashew butter. There's sunflower seed butter. That might work. The sunflower seed butter.
Oh, I love sunflower.
Also with the mayo,
Question.
I know a lot of people are allergic to cashew nuts. So can they substitute almonds?
Yes, you can. The question was, with people who are allergic to cashews, can you substitute almonds? Yes, you can. You can blanch them. And for people that are allergic to nuts, I always tell them to clean their diets up and see if their allergy goes away. As far as getting everything out that's processed and not whole plant foods. And usually the allergy goes away. I can talk for my mom. I know she had really bad sinuses. But she ate fish for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I have never seen a person eat fish that much. But once she cut the fish out, she was able to get rid of that sinus infection. She was actually allergic to the fish and she didn't know it. Wow. So once she cut that out, she got rid of that sinus infection. So I would go with cutting out anything that is not naturally from the earth, and then you should be fine. Okay, we have our skillet here, so we're gonna plug it in. And we have our extension cord right over there. You wanna know, you know what, let me do that. And then you can start on the,